Please welcome my good friend Leo Rivers.
All right, hello. And let me set this little timer thing so I don't go over, but I shouldn't. Okay, first of all, there's going to be like a little time machine history science fiction thing going on here. We're going to take a look into the past, into World War II, at Simone Weil, and ask the question, what if she got busted by the Gestapo? We are also, the course of the book that it's from is one that I've been working on for 6 years now. It's called The Crowning Skull of Earth, The Meaning of Auschwitz and Ravensbrück for Modernity. And it's talking about the future in the rearview mirror, because it seems like fascism is coming available and popular again in Europe and all over the world again. So, out of the 3 poems I will read in this section, one of them will be about the past, and another one about a little bit about that, and then one will be about our own future in 5 years, when I predict what it's going to look and feel like to start drifting in to the kind of mindset they had in Germany in 1933. We certainly don't have it right now. I'm here to tell you that. Okay, first of all, is there anybody here that speaks fluent French? Anybody? Okay, I'm going to have to fake it. Now, how many people know about Albert Camus? How many people know about Simone Weil? No, you know, that's pretty good. All right. Well, Albert Camus spent World War II working with the French resistance, and he was writing a resistant publication called Combat. Simone Weil did a similar thing. She worked publishing the Cahiers du Témoignage Chrétien. And it was just as dangerous a work, and she also provided fake passports for Jewish people to escape Germany. She was actually in the resistance a good deal more than people have realized up to about the last 10 years, when they realized she was really deep into the French resistance. Okay, now, because this has got a historical background, I made a sheet, a bibliography, and it's divided into Approaching the Holocaust, Weil and Ravensbrück concentration camp, Auschwitz concentration camp, and how this can happen to us here and now and in the future. And the books are arranged from simple and introductory to very, very academic, and there's a copy of this sheet on that table over there for those who would like to follow through, because so much more is known now than used to be known, and it's very different. And I want you to take a quick look at this. This is an armband. And I'm going to be talking about labeling people and hiding them behind a name or behind a symbol. When she was arrested, she would be given something like this in the concentration camp. It's an armband with a yellow and red triangles representing the Jewish six-sided triangle, red being she was a leftist, and yellow being she was Jewish. That's all you'd have to be, take a look at. You'd disappear by it. You'd have no personality. This would be what you are and who you are. So, might as well get right into it. Who was Simone Weil? In the 1930s in France, Simone Weil was a leftist political activist with a heart of compassion. When Simone fled Paris to Marseille with her family after the Nazi invasion, she became a profound Christian mystic. When working with the Free French in London, she wrote about a futuristic designs project to design a kind future for humans to live in. And finally, Simone Weil was a daring agent for the French resistance when she famously dropped a satchel full of resistance pamphlets on the city street. She just picked them up and packed them up and went on her way. This poem, Simone in Ravensbrück, asks the question, what if Simone Weil had been arrested and turned over to the Gestapo and sent to the famous Nazi women's concentration camp called Ravensbrück? What if, after being arrested as a Jew and a leftist, Simone was selected by the Nazi doctors for its trial run of the T4 prisoner euthanasia program called Action 14F13, an extermination program being run at Ravensbrück in conjunction with the neighboring Nazi killing center at Bernberg, a sanitarium with showers that showered the unsuspecting patients with gas, and then fed them to a crematoria in the basement. This was a trial run for what you might call the medical model of genocide. Okay? And it was a successful experiment. Auschwitz was built on the success of these experiments in killing the elderly, the Jewish, homosexuals, occultists, anyone they could attribute to having an inherited genetic trait for a behavior they didn't like. And at the same time, in the early 1942, a second dark Nazi invention was already circling Ravensbrück like a black pterodactyl. It was laid like an egg there at the back of the camp. It was a special woman's block called Block 32. This is important. The Germans were fanatic bookkeepers, assigning numbers, keeping track. Everybody was there. But the Germans wanted to have a certain class of people who just disappeared. There'd be no record of where they were going. And they'd just be exterminated once they were sent there. And this was a program called Nacht und Nebel, Night and Fog, famous NNN program. And there was one established at the back of Ravensbrück in 1944, 2 years after the events in this poem. And it's not much to say about it except for imagine constructing a special prison where you kept people out of reach of the law. That's what it was all about. So the two programs, the euthanasia program, 14, F13, and Nacht und Nebel, make them disappear, are things that we're probably going to see again in one form or another. All right, so we're going to begin with the poem. Now let's follow Simone Weil down the rabbit's hole into the hell for women called Ravensbrück. They in Ravensbrück. Simone Weil was captured in Marseille. A clumsy scarecrow of a girl with a staccato French drawl, she was a spinster of the bookshelves and a beaky intellectual, possessing an overweening genius yet to condense its seething Tesla nebula into an orrery of ordered thought within, such a thunderhead as all chain smokers scowl from within. The police caught her putting pamphlets of resistance called the Cahiers de Témoignage Crétin into the hands of French partisans. To her chagrin, despite her Catharism and Caucasian skin, Simone was designated a Jew by the same fiat of bureaucratic selection that would make a Star of David of red and yellow triangles the sole and sufficient identification for this red virgin when moving her deep within the internal ghetto of Nazi concentrations lager, nestled like tumors hidden amidst lovely Europe's disembowelment into unraveling yellow intestine. From Ravensbrück above Berlin, down the two sides of the triangle to Dachau outside of Munich, and Auschwitz out in Poland. Piqued by this absurdum reductum, Simone began to lecture the police, until boggled by her incomprehensible scoldings and sermons, the pissed-off cops called in the Gestapo dog pack who tossed her around like a little kitten. They found her too plain to rape, so they shipped her straight to Ravensbrück, set picturesque behind a lake, fanned by breezes off the Baltic Sea, encircled by an electric fence, patrolled by human-killing dogs, and ogre Valkyrie. At the whistle-stop station, met by a 2-ton lorry, an Opel Blitz by GM. Sent to fetch them, a pack of doomed girls packed in at gunpoint, all swore to be brave, yet all clutched their knees. When they broke through the trees and saw the sweet lake, one silly girl cries out, "There it is!" Another, "Look, see!" The poor, pretty Schwetz, her face a classic Aryan beauty, a lake for handsome lads rowing blonde girls, but Simone sees something else. Something has spoilt all hope of dropping a basket on the grass and spreading out a blanket. This lady is disfigured. The right side of her profile is a mass of ugly tumor. There's a great wall in the gate of the Frau Konzentrationslager at Ravensbrück. And beyond the lake shore, above the Sigel Hovel, those who will out-survive her will meet the maiden camp at Uckermark, a sight to sicken the soul with what the first great bureaucrats of modernity's actuarial ethics deem apropos for those whom they deem unwanted children. No, passing through these gates into the great hall made by that 13-foot brick wall, is not a welcome. This place is but a transit camp where purgatory holds those whom IBM punch cards have coded 14F13 for extermination. The children sing. Where did they take these partisans, the prostitutes and red Germans? They took them in trucks to Bernburg where they were gassed and burnt in ovens. The poet sings. Snowflakes huge, so slow to fall. Snowflakes cling to wire and wall. Snowflakes falling without stop, white and pretty, cold as rock. Snowflakes soft on our rooftop, snow fall gentle on the ladies' block. On the 4th day of the 2nd month, when the skull of earth began to turn with a wince to face the rising sun, early, so late at night, it was in the deep of darkness in which quickens the darkest of deeds, to be done at dawn. To the block they came. The guards came to get the girls for one last exam by the doctors before the Mattoon transport fetched them. Drivers, handsome, like upright hawks, before the rumbling engines, eyes on the Blakovas, capos, helping load the women, some healthy, young, not at all the regular diet of cripples and wretches too feeble to work and feed. And of course, the communists. Lesbians, the ones you expect to see, and the usual Jews. Among them, Simone, wrapped in grim, made absolute with attention. The Sunder transport, special transport, took them to their Sunder behandling, special treatment. The one that takes such people to the special heaven of the forgotten. In short, the sons of bitches gassed them. And once Bernberg's twin ovens burnt them, their combs and shoes, their skirts and slips, their coats and makeup kits, all were boxed up and shipped back to camp to be used again. Simone's little round glasses, too. Few details got out about what happened, out to the world or even the local population. Ravensbrück proved a successful dry run of the medical model for mass annihilation. Having paid admission to the final solution, Auschwitz asked Ravensbrück to train their guard women. And God willing that earth be damned, Ravensbrück may return again. Like old wine in new bottles as a medicine for the melancholy of modernity, in this our new American 21st century, in which we see our fellow Americans bare their teeth and seethe when leaning forward into their TV screen. Where big as crap they see, the great unwashed masses, asocial, unemployable, tens of millions of them. They will see deadbeats, immigrants, and sullen children content to treat welfare like a trust fund. They will see all that crap and pissed off fire up their Instagram, their Facebook, their Twitter, their call radio personalities, and as one great thunderhead of social media, rear into the stratosphere like a cloud of angry flies that, taking the form and face of a demiurge who, sick of talk and sick of lies, sprouts a ziggurat beard that electrically bristles with bolts and thunders forth in one big voice of condemnation. They will, with one voice, cry out, none of them are worth the cost of feeding them. And then, thus having denounced them, lumping the deadbeats, red shirts, and inverts into one moral morass of the feeble-minded and mongrel mob that clots our culture from ocean to ocean together, they will, as if fulfilling some mean old Bible prophecy, cast them all of them, down into the fiery pit of one great designation. We who are the warrior class of patriots and true citizens will demote all of them to one untouchable caste of the masses of mere civilians. And then, this great Greek chorus of angry men, disappointed in their expectations, will raise their voice like claws to drag a long deaf heaven down close enough to hell to hear them. Let the war begin. Assign them numbers, prioritize a list, track their cell phone, send a drone with a kiss to their coordinates. Let the war begin. No soldier should be too shy a guy to spill the blood of men less than men for the sake of a crusade that makes things right again. Let the war begin. Such thoughts follow one like a bad friend into a house of sin. Ravensbrück planted a seed, a start that will start again. So many ashes fill this lake, filled by obscuring illumination top to bottom. So well shredded are the human documents, I doubt the power of Christ hath either the wit or way to call their shades back to human form within the ghost-like mists of dawn, to prove the fact of a fleshly resurrection and heal the wrong of forgetting the forgotten. And after all, if I may be so blunt to mention, there were likely 30,000 of these women burned like witches in this garden. And this was done by men. And what men do, they will do again. I miss her. So, this warning to you. There are some that would make of all our world one Block 32. Now, this is a poem that was written to reflect a poem I discovered after I finished Vey and Ravensbrück. It was called Night on Serbia, in 1944, while in the concentration camp, by Sofia Malinovska. And I have just tried to emulate the situation of two people trying to keep humanity alive through love in the middle of a hell like Ravensbrück. It's called Two Women. After lights out, hell recedes to the horizon and sweet darkness descends like an ocean. Where the depths where out of sight soft stirrings and softer sighs move like fish in a garden untroubled by light. We embrace on a plank, soft as palms in a prayer. The lies of the world are far like distant mountains of muted thunder. As if we each were a fruit, a pit of hunger at our core, we consume one another, imprisoned liberation, needing not more. At dawn, we will join the brute mechanism of oppression and its routine of iron. We'll stand waiting in fives for the harvest of women, waiting on an appel for the doctor with his list. We will wait shivering like grass for the lion to pass. I swear, beyond this square and the walls between us and all of that out there, like small Pacific islands, somewhere, somehow still untouched, old villages stir within the fog and frosted air. But stone of truth, iron truth, even though I love you, I cannot promise more and tell the truth. And the last one is a story of the future. And I really try to make it a future that I could believe we could become. It's late winter 2023. It's my home. I mow the lawn. My front door is a locked door I can put between me and the world and all that goes on. When I die, the sale of my house will pay my debt to the bank, property tax, and credit cards. All of them. Holding my cup with my last swallow of coffee at the sink, at the kitchen window I see an old man with the brass hose grip from the hose I use for watering. He is standing naked in bare feet under a blanket, blinking black back at me. I wonder who will buy the things that he is stealing. It's disconcerting to go into your kitchen one day and see a young college dropout drinking milk from your refrigerator, the back door open, his eyes full of apology. Mothers and children sorting garbage sit on the curb, pulling out of the garage. One is careful not to bump them on the way to work. Our eyes meet without a word. We cannot go on pretending there is no excuse for the homeless to choose to live the life of thieves. I have taken out a loan for a defense from the homeless retrofit kit and a pro installer for security. Who has turned all these white people into zombies? Who will collect them from our streets? They carry feral children, the need for drug money, and the opportunity for prostitution like dogs carry fleas. If there were an election, I'd vote to no longer have to see them as I drive from the sidewalk, looking back at me. Once again, my front door would be locked, and the world would remain someplace far from me. Thank you. And now for Charles.
Well, Leo, that's some very strong imagery. Let's have another hand for Leo Rivers. Okay.